Okay, welcome back everybody. My name's Ed, your friendly neighbourhood hill climber. Come to take your KOMs. I'm joking, actually. I'm probably more likely to come and ride with you for a coffee and a cake than take your KMs, because I actually prefer coffee and cake. So this video is not requested at all, really, but I thought I would throw it up because there is no way I was doing the struggle hill climb on the weekend with a GoPro on and its mount, which added up to about 150-200 grams. There's no way I was gonna ride with it and then not upload the footage from it. I've only used in the main video, which thank you so much for watching already. If you haven't, you need to go and watch it. The actual video from the day. I only used like a really small clip, mainly because the clips that other people had right at the finish were better than mine. So what I thought I would do is throw this up and talk you through like the pacing, first hand, POV style, and yeah, you know, if you've got any questions on this video particularly, or on this climb or pacing, because there's obviously going to be hopefully far more hill climbs organized on this climb in years to come, so people will always come back and watch this possibly. Like, comment down below. So this I wasn't wearing a heart rate monitor, so that's why there's no heart rate reading on the left hand side there. Cadence, power is all coming from my 4i left sided only power meter, which I've been using for 2.5 years, 3 years maybe. It's been very reliable, but that's not a sponsored plug. So what we have here, we have a climb that, although on paper looks to be very simple, in other words, like a steep bit, and then like a flat-ish bit, and then like a very steep bit at the end. It's actually a little bit more complex than that. This first section, which I broke down when I talked about in the main video about the pacing in the stat attack segment, I talked about how I was going to ride, like, for the first 8.5 minutes, basically treat it as its own hill climb. And what you've probably picked up on already is how the gradient changes quite a lot. The gradient's in the bottom left hand corner there, alongside the elevation profile, and you can see my cadence also reflects the gradient changes. Like, it's quite harsh. Like this section I'm on now, you know, the numbers edging up close to 20%, and I'm doing 70 RPM, so it's actually quite hard to go, you know, from riding, say if I'm trying to ride at 430 watts, it's actually quite difficult when the terrain, the gradient is constantly changing, to maintain that, because you've got to be shifting gears, or you've got to increase your cadence, and then when it gets steeper, decrease your cadence if you opt to stay in the same gear, which is also quite taxing, not just physically but mentally, because you want to just bang out the rhythm, and you can't do it if the climb is dictating that. But it comes with practice. I don't always get the question, but whenever I ride with people, particularly locally, I have a local group ride, and we do climbs and stuff, the question usually comes up, like, how do you deal with those? And it is just down to, like, practice. And it's completely different riding these climbs, you know, at 50% of your FTP versus 110, 115% of your FTP. So my pacing strategy for this was rock solid. I didn't waver from it. I basically, it was textbook. I couldn't have done it any better. The only way I could have gone faster is if it was dry. We had a slight tailwind as well, which didn't necessarily help on the steep parts of the climb. It more so helped on these parts here, where the speed picks up, and you kind of get carried along, so you don't have to really put as much pressure into the pedals. As you can see, my power drops off almost completely, and you've got to have a lot of faith in the fact that if you're going to lose a second or two on these flat bits, And I'm talking about, obviously I'm talking about winning the event, but if you want to set a personal best, you have to suck it up. That you have to realize that say if you are matching your PB time, you have to realize that if you lose a second or two to your personal best live segment, so to speak, on these flat sections, you are giving yourself that tiny bit of rest that you possibly need to be able to push harder on the steeper sections. Because it always matters more when you're going slowest. It always matters more. But again, it takes a lot of confidence to do that, especially when you're going for the win and the margins are very, very tight. So yeah, other ways I could have gone faster. I think the bike weighed, obviously I was carrying the GoPro, but the bike weighed I think 7.2 kilos. It's going to drop a fair bit in the next couple of weeks as we put it on a diet before the National Hill Climb Championships, which is almost 30 days away. We're talking about doing a 1x setup with a 42 tooth chainring with a 2818 rear cassette. But we're probably looking at about 6.6 kilos, 6.7 kilos maybe for this bike, unless I can source some other parts. But we will see. I'm more interested actually in where I can take my body over the next couple of weeks, as opposed to my equipment, because equipment, I think, goes without saying, spend a lot of money or you get a lot of people on board to support, and the equipment side can change very quickly, whereas like the training side takes a lot of dedicated hours and smart preparation, and also putting yourself through a lot of hurt to improve in the shorter climbs, which is what I'm training for. So that's another way I could have gone faster, is if I ditched the GoPro. The other thing is as well that I mentioned, it's obviously chups out there soaking wet. So if it was dry, I would have taken more risks on this flatter section, which is coming up in a moment. The speed was already quite high. I opted to wear a helmet, and in British hill climbs you don't actually have to wear a helmet. You have to have a rear light, but you don't have to wear a helmet. Figure that one out. But I chose to wear one because I was intending to ride back down, but also I realized when I rode this climb the day before there were sheep on the climb, and I thought I don't really want to be hitting one of those at like 30 mile an hour, so I'm going to play it safe and I'm going to wear a helmet. And if anything, I didn't mention this in a video, I don't think, but it gives you the confidence to go faster if you know that something is protecting your Swede. So for me it was like a catch-22. Like, do I ride with a helmet and sacrifice that little bit of weight, or do I just say stuff it and actually I'm probably going to go faster anyway because I'm going to have more confidence. So these are the things you weigh up. I mean, this is laughable, this section. I would have loved to have seen the last bit of the climb coming up, which for those of you that have done this climb in the dry, which is actually very few of you, because I spoke to a couple of people at the end and they were saying that nearly every time they've done this climb it's been these conditions. I think the Tour of Britain, when it came up here, it was similar conditions as well, maybe not a tailwind. But I think I normalized 415 watts, which is about 6.99643 something watts per kilo. But obviously the way that was put together is not just it's not just a perfect effort. There's that first kind of 5 minutes where I'm riding just over 7 watts per kilo, then I recover for 30 seconds on that flat bit at just under 7 watts per kilo, and then it goes over again. And then this bit, this whole bit here, this is a lovely section. This is where I was afraid of slapping off, actually, right there. So I got through it fine, and then this bit I just tried to recover a little bit. As you can see, we're coming into the final bit of the climb, but this whole section that I'm talking about right now, this was about 2 minutes long, and it took nearly everybody. If you look on Strava, I know it's not like accurate, but like you look at Strava, everybody took almost the same time to cover that flatter section, and that's where it matters, because I was able to save myself for this final section where I actually put 10 seconds into second place over this last 2-minute effort, and that's where it can make the difference. You know, you have to realize where you can save effort, where you can use more effort. So I'm going to shut up in a minute and let you enjoy the final part of this video, where the crowd is absolutely going berserk at the top. Fair play, it was an amazing atmosphere. But now I'm able to dig in a lot. Like I think I now average about 7.6 watts per kilo for the last 2.5 minutes to the top, because I'd saved a little bit for it, and we're going so slow up it as well. So perspective, obviously my slow versus your slow, but you know what I mean. But I thoroughly enjoyed. Definitely have to come back when I have lighter bike set up, when I'm maybe training for these type of climbs as well, and also like when the weather is better. But I did thoroughly enjoy, and that 2-minute segment just before this, just to finish off, I think I averaged 270 watts. So I let gravity do its thing on those rollers and pick them up with speed, so I could ride hard to the end. So thanks for watching, enjoy the ending, see you in the next one.
Yeah. So just get onto the grass. Yeah, you just get on the grass out of the way. Off-road up and out. Oh, no problem.